their upcoming film that was so hilarious, and it had some tremendously comical scenes. The sit downs of Nandor, played by Simon Pegg, and then Mr. Christopher Lloyd. Those scenes were actually very entertaining. Those are one of my favorites. My second favorite is the credits.
I have the explanation for that. I didn't know that was going to be in the movie. So that we did a Comic-Con panel last year and for this movie. And the guys who set up the Comic-Con panel said, okay, we want the actors to do a video, like, talking about how great the experience was. And I hate these videos. They're so stupid, and they're so just like, like just circle jerk, for lack of a better word. And I said, no. I was like, if we're going to do one of these videos, we can do a joke one where they're trashing me, and I'm going to play dumb, and I'll be on stage and do it. And so we did it for Comic-Con, and it was great, and people loved it. And I stormed off the stage, and it was hilarious. And then I didn't realize they were going to include it in the credits. I was like, that's not what this was for. But anyway, it was fun when we did it.
See, that's how much I enjoyed your film. I watched it all the way through till the end.
That's crazy. I didn't. That's why I didn't know it was there. I was just making sure the movie worked. So, yes.
Hilarious. Well, I had a kick out of it. But, those are the memories that you take with you that are so not planned.
Exactly. Yes.
Well, let's talk about those sit-down scenes that were quite comical. And I loved how everything, like the first scene where they sit down, because that just gives the backstory of everything on storytelling way.
Sure. Those scenes were really crucial because they were probably the most rooted in reality, like as far as what actually happened. Like Dr. Price was a real guy. He was really good friends with Nandor. He, the stuff that he talks about in there with the London Spiritualist Alliance and all this stuff, like that was all taken pretty much from fact. And so I wanted a character to give a little bit just of background to Nandor and just give us more insight into his character, like, in a more subtle way. And so that was the purpose of those scenes with Chris. And then at the end like I didn't want to give the audience kind of what to think or what I was trying to express, but I wanted to give like a possibility for like a possible explanation for why all these crazy things happened.
I can't help it but think, and kind of related to current days, well, not current, but years back when they were about the chupacabras, how no one knew what it was, but it was a talk. Obviously he didn't speak, but that wonder and curiosity.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's fascinating, these sort of like famous imaginary creatures. Like I feel like there's a desire to be one of like people start to really trick themselves into seeing or hearing things because they want to be part of that cult of people, I suppose, of the chupacabra cult, who have seen this creature, and they can talk to their friends about it who have seen the chupacabra, and it like becomes like a rite of passage or something like that. And I think that's a lot of what happened with Jeff.
And Nandor actually talks about it. He's like, why do we write? Is it because it's mostly because we want to be remembered?
Absolutely. That's kind of like, because what's really odd about the Irving story is like they took this to their graves that this was real, and they sued people who said it wasn't. And it was pretty clearly a hoax, like there was nothing concrete that ever transpired on this, but they so fervently claimed that it was. And there was no money changing hands there, so the only thing would be like, look, I just made a movie about them, 80 years later or 100 years later. So like we're still talking about them. And so that's kind of like, to be remembered is something. And like they realized that it had become a thing that people were believing in for some reason, and it became what they were known for. And so that was kind of the purpose of that.
There was the funny comment, right, with the Irving family, the husband. He's like, "Yeah, we've had a lot of people," and then the moment they announce that someone is coming to investigate,
Of
he
course.
disappears.
Oh yeah, that's one of the like subtlest, funniest parts of the script to me is how like e- every time somebody shows up, he's gone, and everywhere that they are, he's not. And Simon's reactions to that, like he shows up, and there's that scene where they meet the Irving family for the first time, and he's talking to him, and he says, like as we've met your lovely family, and they're great, and your dogs, and there's another member of your family that we would love to meet, is the creature here. And he's, oh, the creature, and he says, well, he's not here. And Simon, you just see Simon's expression, like, oh God, like here we go. Like this is just another, and so I love that dynamic of like how they'll do everything except actually produce this creature that he came to see. It's very
Yeah, it was hilarious. But tell me about getting Peg and Mr. Lloyd in this, because they were great. They were perfect.
Mhm. Yeah, Simon was the first domino. I mean, he it was a pretty simple process with him, surprisingly. His agent gave him the script, he loved it, and he said, I want to do it. And we talked about it on a Zoom for probably close to an hour, and about the character and the tone, and we were totally on the same page, and we vibed, and he said, I'm in. And then, getting the rest of the cast once Simon came on board was pretty easy because everybody wanted to work with them. Yeah. And Christopher was the last cast member. He came very late in the game. Like when we were already in production is when he came in and joined the cast.
Did you originally have someone else, or?
No, we had a couple people that we were after that didn't work out, and then I just got like heavily into prep, and like we had a couple actors that weren't available and stuff, and then so Christopher, his name came about, and I said, oh my God, like that's it. Like we need to just do that. Like get me Christopher Lloyd. And then he signed on, and I was like, oh, thank God. It was perfect.
Which one of the scene was the one that some of the scenes you enjoyed the most? I mean, I shared the ones I liked.
Yeah, I mean, my favorite scenes in the movie when I watch it now are I love the scene between Simon and Minnie at the end on the train where she quits because their chemistry is just so lovely in that scene and so perfect. And it like shows their relationship. It doesn't get romantic, but it just skirts that edge of you can see how much they like and respect each other. And then I love the scene with Simon and Gary Beadle after the weird thing with the mongoose and all the crowd. And so he's in the barn talking to him, and Gary's kind of calling him out about, you know, why do you care so much? Like, why are you so hell bent on disproving this mongoose? Who cares? Like these people are happy. They think it's great. It brings joy to their lives. And it like you see him sort of eviscerating Nandor in that scene because he's right, you know? And so I love those scenes. Like the characters, the performances, everything in those came about perfectly.
So, what made you want to write this story?
You know, I heard the true story, probably 10 years ago or so, and I just thought it sounded funny, and I knew I wanted to make a talking mongoose movie. And then there was like a strange I witnessed kind of a strange religious thing happen with a friend that was so bizarre and so sad that for some reason made me think of the mongoose story. I don't know why I made that connection. And that was what created it and turned it from just a biopic into this odd sort of story about faith and cynicism.
Great. Well, thank you so much for your time, Adam. Like I said, I
Thank
really
you.
enjoyed the movie. I love this. I love this kind of film where it's like it's got comedy, it's got the drama, it's got a little spark. That it's a different kind of humor.
It's
Um,
definitely a dark comedy for sure.
I like dark comedy.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah. Well, thank
Yeah.
you so much again, and phenomenal cast,
Of
of course.
course. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you. Bye bye.